The World Tourism Cities Federation, WTCF, is initiated by Beijing and voluntarily formed by famous tourism cities and tourism-related institutions in the world. It is the world's first international tourism organization focusing on cities. WTCF has grown into the most promising world-famous international tourism organization with the widest coverage of global tourism cities. Since its founding in 2012, the number of its members has increased from the initial 58 to the current 237, covering 83 countries and regions, including 159 city members and 78 institutional members, achieving a four-fold increase in the number of members. It has also set up 6 branches on experts, civil aviation, tourism-related businesses, media organizations, cruise, and investment respectively, which have attracted 288 members, covering the whole tourism industrial chain. WTCF's influence, leadership, and cohesion in the tourism industry have been enhanced comprehensively.
Welcome. Good morning. Welcome to the Hospitality Track. My name is Caroline Wiegering. I'm a professor of hospitality at Hotel School The Hague, International Business School. And I invite you to join the full packed program of this Hospitality Track at ITB. This morning we'll be starting with luxury, wellness and well-being sessions, and we will then move further to hotel guest experience in the digital age and how innovative digital experiences can make a difference. It's about transforming guest experience through data, and you will be immersed in virtual reality. In the afternoon, please stay with us or come back. If you would like to, you cannot join us all the day. To how hotels and hotel industry can create value for local communities towards regenerative tourism. And we, at the end of the day, if you are still here or you would like to invite some colleagues for a great workshop about future scenarios. So it will be a treat to finalize your ITB experience with looking ahead to 2050, together with Fraunhofer Institute. So this is what we can offer you today. But please now, I ask you your fully attention for the luxury travel sessions and how the sector leads the transformation in our industry. The session will be led by Ms. Kirsten Veld-Turkis. She is an associate partner of Profate Management Consultancy, and she will welcome keynotes, panelists, and she will guide you through this great topic. Kirsten, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Caroline. I don't think this is, yes, it is. Thank you, Caroline. And thanks everyone for joining us in this session this morning, despite potential logistical challenges you may have had getting here. And of course, we were hoping to have a much larger audience, but still hoping that some people are going to make it throughout the morning. I think we've all been hearing amazing numbers during the past couple of days on the growth of travel, the willingness to travel. We've heard very ambitious expansion plans of many companies. And we've also heard that the luxury segment is outperforming, even in this very positive situation. From experience, we have seen that the luxury industry and the luxury travel segment has a role as a pioneer in many, many aspects. And while client customer behavior and mindset is changing very, very quickly, you know, we could all say, yeah, we're doing so great, let's relax, let's celebrate, and let's just hope it's going to stay that way. But this is the time when we need to get prepared for the future requirements of our customers and prepare our companies and our businesses for those requirements. From experience and from research, we've seen that the those luxury consumers are extremely demanding, and we're seeing that the future of luxury travel is actually sustainable. It's going to be digital, it's data-driven, but at the same time it is deeply human, it is very, very individual, and it is mindful. And that doesn't sound like a totally natural combination in the end. I am actually delighted that today we will have Caroline Bremner, Senior Head of Research, Travel Research at Euromonitor, share the latest findings from a research that they have done on the luxury seekers. And then following Caroline's presentation, we're going to have a panel discussion with 3 gentlemen who are experts in luxury travel to really see what we derive from consumer behavior changes and how the industry and companies is changing and how companies are addressing this. So please welcome Caroline Bremner for her presentation.
Thank you, Kirsten, for that very kind introduction. My name's Caroline Bremner. I'm the Senior Head of Travel Research at Euromonitor International, and I'm delighted to be back at ITB Berlin and also share with you the findings from our very latest research into luxury travel, which truly is leading transformation from a position of strength. So for today's presentation, first of all, I'm going to introduce you to this new luxury traveler. Who are they? What are their beliefs, their values, their attitudes, and their travel behaviors? And then at Euromonitor, we have identified 3 different pillars of luxury travel. So I'm going to introduce you to those. So firstly, we have lifestyles and values. Secondly, purpose and positive impact. And then finally, we have holistic wellness and well-being. And of course, I'll do a wrap-up before we head into the panel with our illustrious guests today. So when it comes to meeting the luxury traveler, let us have a look. I'm going to set the definitions so that you understand how we have segmented these different groups. So at Euromonitor International, we have a global travel survey. We speak to over 40,000 people around the world in 40 different countries. And so with our lifestyles team and our travel team, we created 8 different segments. And today I am sharing the insights from the luxury seeker. So those are the consumers that feel that it's important that people see that they're doing well. They obviously are frequent travelers, they're in the higher income groups, and they also think it's very important to spend money on experiences. And then we also have the wellness worshippers. We also found that they tend to be at the higher end of the income scale. They feel that it's very important to do relaxation and those types of wellness experiences when they travel. Equally, they are frequent travelers, and they exercise at least weekly in their daily lives. So that's just to set the scene with how we've segmented these 2 types. When it comes to the results, I was really surprised just how much younger luxury seekers and wellness worshippers are. So you can see the millennials in the grey and the Gen Z in the blue. You know, we can see that luxury is much more diverse than we may have thought. So we have to break out of those stereotypes. We're not talking about older baby boomers from North America or Europe anymore. We're very much looking at younger and a much more diverse range of consumers. And of course, when we start looking at where those luxury seekers are based, so this is looking at the sources of demand, so we see that at the top of the list we have emerging markets. India, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Thailand, Egypt, etc. China, of course, is in there as well. And so we do see a large proportion and representation of luxury seekers in emerging markets such as the Middle East, 16% of our consumers, and 13% in Asia Pacific. So again, breaking down those stereotypes that we may have had. When it comes to their attitudes, we can see, again, this was very surprising for me. So for those high-end luxury seekers, only 5% of them are doing solo travel. And this is based on our brand new research. It's not even published yet, so I'm really sort of sharing sort of hot off the press data with you today. We do see that they prefer to travel with their partners or their spouses, so that accounts for 3/4 of our luxury seekers, over 50% with their children. So what we're seeing is luxury seekers sort of wanting to sort of travel with their family, their loved ones, have those kind of multi-generational experiences, and luxury brands really need to ensure that they're delivering on that. Equally, these younger luxury seekers are digital natives, and 3/4 of them are booking their travel online. But interestingly, we see that over 1/3 are still interested in that in-store personal experience that they can get with a travel agent or an expert, or somebody who really knows a destination or their services inside out. Equally, they're using technology day in, day out, and it's really about sort of getting things done in a very seamless and efficient way. And we also see that they're very interested in loyalty, where over 1/3 say that they really value the benefits and the exclusive experiences and the personalization that they get from loyalty programs or co-branded credit cards. Equally, what we see is, will they actually pay more? Of course, the luxury seekers have more means, they have the financial capabilities, but they are so much more engaged with paying even over 50% for certain travel features. So, for example, we can see that they will pay more for no-fly alternatives. That flight shaming trend is still alive and well. They'll pay for quality of dining, they'll pay for energy efficiency, they'll pay for immersion in local culture. They are so much more engaged than all the other segments that we look at Euromonitor. Equally, let's now turn and focus specifically on that first pillar of lifestyles and value. To set the scene, at Euromonitor we have a lot of data, but this is just to show you that the recovery in luxury hotels is outperforming the market. Upscale and luxury combined, recovering already this year. Luxury set to take 14% of global hotel sales by 2028, growing by a very impressive 7%. So this is just pure hotels, not short-term rentals or any kind of alternative lodging. When it comes to specific values that we've asked our high-income earners, this is, again, where I see that luxury seekers so much more engaged. So one, they feel much more confident in their own skins. They like to express themselves, they know what they want, and they're looking for brands to help enable that. So they're unique, they're, as Kirsten said, they're demanding. Equally, we can see that they are looking for very novel, new experiences, and that's, celebrating diversity in this group is really sort of resonates well. What I also find very interesting from the values is that they are looking for active engagement with the brands that they love. So they are looking for even co-creation experiences to be part of that innovation process. It's not a passive relationship, it's a very active relationship. Equally, we see a lot of innovation in the luxury sector. So we know with the future of work, the post-pandemic work habits, the rise of the digital nomads, the blended traveler, and actually a lot of luxury brands are moving into the sort of the home and hospitality area. So, for example, we see hotel brands launching sort of private residences, moving into private property. The luxury car manufacturers are also engaged in sort of residences and real estate. And of course, the fashion brands have been in it for many years and continue to invest. But it's going now more into these kind of standalone homes and residences. And popular destinations that we see are Miami, we have Dubai, Hong Kong, London, etc. And of course, we cannot forget about Saudi Arabia and the sheer number of luxury developments happening in their pipeline. When it comes to targeting this next generation of luxury seekers, this is a really interesting case study from Mexico, the Ahao collection. They've created a Web3 platform. They are using NFTs, non-fungible tokens, to reward for their Gen Z and millennial travelers and guests to collect. And they can redeem them for real-world experiences, from yoga to wellness and spas, fine dining, etc. So when it comes to values and lifestyles, what we have to remember is the importance of personalization. That can be through digital, obviously with Gen AI, huge opportunities there. But equally, we can see the importance of digitalizing the customer journey, being in the right time at the right place. We know that for luxury, there's this sort of moving in and out across those silos, those brand extensions that are all important. And as Kirsten mentioned, we cannot forget the importance of empathy and that human touch. And equally, the best way that we see for you to engage with your luxury seeker consumers is to align your values with their values and beliefs. Those shared values are just so important. And if you don't align, you may risk a boycott. And of course, we don't want to move into the whole greenwashing space either. So let's turn to our second pillar, which is purpose and positive impact. Now, we've all been to many travel conferences, and there's so much talk about sustainability. But what's very interesting is when we zoom in on those luxury seekers, they are climate conscious. So we've got, 64% saying that they want to have a positive impact on the environment in their daily lives. And equally, they have a sense of responsibility. Over half of them saying that, they feel responsible for their carbon emissions and being, carbon intensive. But on the flip side, when we ask them about their behaviors, they are less engaged than the global average consumer. So they're not reducing their plastic usage or, conserving energy as much as everybody else. Where we do see that they're more engaged is buying from purpose-driven brands that put people, place, and planet on a par with profit. So B Corp or following sustainable based or science-based targets, for example. When it comes to luxury players, for example, we see Iberostar really setting the standard. They're working with the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance, they're working with the World Travel and Tourism Council, and doing a really great job about sharing their sustainable practices with the rest of their industry. The Wave of Change strategy follows 11 different pathways where they're looking holistically across the supply chain to tackle scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. And it's very interesting as well, this shift to electrification, decarbonization, and also using nature-based solutions in the destinations that they work. So what does it take to succeed when you're looking at purpose and positive impact? Luxury consumers are feeling a little bit tired. They need to be shown and, enabled to make the right choice. So fight the fatigue. Take a holistic view, work across the supply chain, work with your partners. Set sustainability as a standard. There's no reason why the luxury sector is not following science-based target initiatives, etc. And we know that it's more than sustainability, it's moving into regeneration. It's about having that social and environmental positive impact. At the end of the day, travel is a privilege for all of us, but especially for the luxury consumer, where if you're traveling first or business class, you'll be emitting maybe 4 times more than the mass market. And one way to build trust is to start measuring and be transparent. So let's just turn to our last pillar, which is based on holistic well-being and wellness. When it comes to wellness worshippers, we can see that the market is over about 130 billion globally. They are very digitally savvy, again, very sociable, traveling with their partners or their family. And they also are, very active travelers abroad. They will also pay more for holistic well-being experiences, such as in nature. When it comes to the largest source of wellness worshippers that we identified in our travel survey, we can see that the largest source markets are Japan, US, and Germany, UK, and Italy. And then in terms of actual destinations that receive the most spending by wellness visitors, that's domestic and international, we have the US, Mexico, and Germany in third place, followed by Thailand and Austria. We can see that they also want to have a positive impact on the environment, but I really quite like the fact that 40% of them quite like shopping as well, so a bit more frivolous. When it comes to wellness, this is one of our mega trends at Euromonitor, and we have so much information on this, and what we're seeing is a lot of innovation in the sector. So here we're looking at longevity techniques that were rolled out by Six Senses in Ibiza, but it's not just that, it's biohacking, it's integrated and tech-enabled diagnostics. There's so much, there's a combination of the sort of natural, but also the digital and the latest technology. Equally, we can see that our luxury consumers are very sort of well-connected using wearables as well for that quantified self. This is another very interesting example from Lanzerhof, obviously very famous in Germany and Austria, but we're also seeing their cutting-edge medical and spa sort of combination being taken and launched in urban centres such as London and Hamburg. So how to win in terms of holistic well-being? Well, what we're seeing is that it is about enabling your wellness worshippers to really self-optimize. It's digitally enhanced. Equally, it's about unlocking value. They appreciate also the loyalty aspect. And it's that combination of partnerships, again, working with local suppliers, the importance of food in the whole experience as well. And of course, we have this new tool in the toolkit, which is AI, generative AI, and that throws up another debate, and I know it's been very popular at ITB, but of course, any use of AI has to be done very responsibly. So I'd just like to wrap up today before we head into the panel. So first of all, when we're looking at luxury travel, from the very latest research that we have at Euromonitor, I can see that the luxury traveller is younger, they're from emerging markets, so it's more diverse. They're digital natives, so we have to embrace this new luxury traveller and their demands. And one way we can do that as well is to help them on that sustainability journey, to act with purpose and to embrace the SDGs, etc. And of course, thinking holistically about those wellness and well-being benefits, but also holistically across the whole of the customer journey. And with that, I'd just like to finish with our how to win in luxury travel. We know that there are still challenges post-pandemic. We have decades-high inflation, geopolitical threats and conflicts around the world. Obviously, the high prices are going to stay. We know that people have to pay more for travel. It is a privilege. We know that sustainability must be the standard, but also we see with the younger generation, luxury, it's not just about financial means, it's also a mindset. So what we're looking about where to play is digitalizing the customer journey, embracing that high-tech, high-touch approach, empathy, and that human touch being very important. Diversifying source markets, looking beyond the traditional markets. And of course, we need to ensure that we're partnering with like-minded players outside of travel and beyond. And one thing, if there's one takeaway I want to leave you with, it's about bringing these consumers into that innovation and active engagement process. They want to engage with you. They want to be part of the experience, even in the design stage. So with that, obviously we have to embrace sustainable transformation, digital transformation, and the panel is obviously going to help us understand how to do that. Thank you. Thank you.
Am I back on? Yes. Thanks very much, Caroline. Actually, at Profit, we're doing a lot of projects with luxury brands, with luxury companies, and I'm seeing a lot of the impulses that Caroline has given us on the trend research impacting what companies are already considering, particularly when it comes to brand positioning and brand interaction. So extremely interesting. So we're going to go into our panel discussion, and I'd like to ask to the stage my wonderful three gentlemen, which is Sebastian Riebe, VP Global Sales of Kempinski, a young man who's spent his whole life in luxury travel, luxury hospitality, and who's saying we see a lot of changes in the luxury hospitality, but there'll always be a doorman at the Adlon. I have Zoran Pejovic from Lošinj Hotels in Croatia. Zoran is actually taking a look from the developer side at luxury hospitality, and by nature of that is always quite a bit ahead of the trends, or has to be ahead of the trends. And we have Rodrigo Esponda from Visit Los Cabos, General Manager, Managing Director, who is actually determined to make Los Cabos a must-have on the bucket list of European luxury travelers. Welcome to the stage. So let's start with Sebastian. We actually started with looking at the growth figures in the luxury segment, in the luxury industry. Now, when we see those numbers flat, from an overall perspective, what is the growth actually coming from? Is it the post-pandemic rebound still? Is it occupancy? Is it rates? What is the actual secret behind the growth you're seeing?
Thank you, Kirsten. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm, of course, speaking on behalf of Kempinski, 80 hotels around the world. So what we monitor, the growth is coming mainly from the average rate. That's the selling strategy of our hotels. It fits perfectly to luxury hotels. ADR, what we say, over occupancy. And we see also a return to the top 20, top 10 markets from around the world. There's not a surprise. We return to pre-COVID levels. I think Caroline mentioned this, emerging markets, definitely this is what we monitor. And the biggest growth in percentages is definitely monitored in China, India, and Indonesia.
Okay. And why from your experience and perspective, is the luxury segment in an even better position than the mass market?
That's the beauty of luxury, it's a desire. But also our number one target group are wealthy people.
Okay.
Who always travel.
Okay, that's definitely good to know, and they're resilient to what's going on in the world, and that's why the luxury segment is actually in a very positive situation. So when we're looking at where the growth is coming from, do you think it's coming, or do you see that it's coming from all the different dimensions? Is it city and resort, or is it alternate accommodation? Do we see any sort of shift, certain areas overperforming, underperforming, something that would give us impulses for a shift in where the business is going?
In the past 2 years, we were obviously growing everywhere, and at the beginning, resorts were growing faster than the city hotels, but city hotels are catching up. And yeah, welcome to Berlin. I'm from the past 8 years, I was working for the Adlon Kempinski in Berlin, and we are definitely back on track. But there's more opportunity to grow in occupancy than in ADR. ADR is on a very high level already. Okay.
Moving to Zoran, from what we've heard as far as the mindset that is changing heavily in the luxury segment, what do you, from your perspective and your experience, what is the mindset that a hospitality company needs to respond to those changing needs and requirements?
Thank you. So yeah, we've heard quite a bit about changing mindset of the travelers, right? But we need to start talking a bit more about what type of mindset we as providers, as hoteliers, as the service industry, experience industry have to adopt in order to match those changing mindsets of the travelers. And I honestly think we are, for the majority, and I'm not talking on behalf of anybody, talking about my own experience, and I've been in the industry now for 25 years, worked across most of the continents, and almost exclusively or exclusively in the ultra luxury and luxury segment. We are actually very, very slow to change. So I always come back to this thought of one famous Japanese Zen master who says that in the beginner's mind there are many opportunities, and in the expert mind there are only few. So very often we are driven by expertise that sees opportunities forward based on the previous experiences, which obviously I'm not here to discard the previous experiences, but we need those experts, many of my colleagues need to start adopting that beginner's mind and seeing the industry with the new eyes. One of the elements, for example, and this ties back, I think, quite nicely with the expectations and the greenwashing. And I think, for example, we need to start embracing more of a radical transparency. The first one who goes forward and just says, we are actually failing here and here and here, might lose a little bit in the beginning, but eventually they will start gaining afterwards. Because we need to embrace a bit more honesty about the difficulties that we are facing. We are living in a time when the luxury travelers are actually open to accept certain failings of our industry because of the whatever happened with the pandemic and the loss of people. But I don't think they will forever be willing to pay more and more for honestly lower and lower levels of service. So we need to start being a bit more honest about it, a bit more transparent about it, and adopting this beginner's mindset, thinking that there have to be new solutions to the new problems. We can't be anymore adopting those same solutions from the past.
So we basically need to step back and not use our experience from the past, but really take a blank sheet sometimes.
Sure, I mean, we can build on that, but imagine that there might be other paths forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Rodrigo, you are determined, you want to make Los Cabos a destination for the European affluent luxury traveler. What are the most important requirements that you have identified for the destination to get there?
Well, indeed, we see a big opportunity in Europe, and we're working very hard in a comprehensive program to do it. We know that North America will continue to be our #1 source of market. Every month, 30% of the travelers that come to Los Cabos every month have precisely would be in the bracket that Caroline presented in the study. It's over $168,000, so that would be. We have more than 10,000 arrivals every month on private plane, so that would be, let's say, the peak of that segment. However, we see that there are 3 pillars that we believe that we can use to position Los Cabos in Europe. That would be the value proposition of Los Cabos, would be first the cultural authenticity that the region has, the identity that we can provide in the Mexican ambience with a very sophisticated experience. Second, the natural diversity that we have with a combination of the Sea of Cortez with 30% of the world marine mammals, the desert and the mountain. And thirdly, the service culture that we have had and the luxury demanding segment is looking for, that we can definitely provide to the affluent travelers that are coming from Europe. So we will start having a flight in November, non-stop from Germany to Los Cabos twice a week, and we believe that that's going to be a game changer for us as a destination.
Yeah. And in our pre-discussion, you told me that you've been educating also your suppliers in the destination on how what they need to deliver for the luxury consumer, which brings me back to Zoran. From a developer's perspective, what does a destination in the luxury space actually have to deliver for a hotel company to go in there?
Yeah, here I can speak from personal experience quite a bit. This is not based on research; it's anecdotal, but obviously, it's we have to start somewhere. As somebody who's worked on bringing new luxury products in new destinations, and this is pretty much what you're also trying to add. And as a hotelier, I come to a new destination, and we want to put together a beautiful luxury product. We need assistance of people like yourself, honestly, to be translators. Not the language part, but very often, again, coming from the mindset that a hotel company, especially if you're talking about an existing chain, an existing brand, they will come to a new destination and they will most probably try, obviously, to bring some of their existing thinking and apply it in a new destination. There, you can find a way to translate it to the local community and then translate back from the local community to the operators, to find a way how that authenticity can translate into the services and experiences then that hotel company can deliver. And I have found, for example, one of the biggest challenges, we are talking about luxury, ultra-luxury segment, and we've moved from service to experience economy, moving from experience to transformation economy. How you as for example, myself as an independent hotelier coming into your destination can find a way to connect with all those service providers? How can I find a way to integrate all of that into one meaningful, mindful package and offering? And very often in a new destination, new luxury destination, you will not have established DMCs. You will, going to, somebody mentioned Ibiza before. Obviously, going there, it's an easy play. You bring a new hotel and everything else works already. There are DMCs, there are airports, there is the infrastructure. You come to a new destination, and somebody has to be that glue that connects all of those incredible people and small offerings and small services. And often hotels are not, hotel operators and brands are not wired in their way to think, how can we do that on the ground? So I think this is where you can serve as a help to the operators, but then also to the local community. I have experience from that local communities are often afraid of luxury offerings. They think, okay, we're going to be excluded. We are going to be, there will be a fence, and this is going to be now only for certain type of people, and we don't want to lose, we don't want things to go so expensive. Again, to communicate to them that there are benefits and that there are case studies of how other destinations have benefited from this type of luxury offerings in other cases. So I honestly think this could be the biggest benefit that you could bring both to the local community and to the future hotel operators to bring it all together.
So, thank you. So basically the message is it's an inclusive strategy for a destination, and it's extremely important. My favorite subject is to take the consumer, the customer perspective, and looking at a destination as being sort of a holistic approach. And it's not just the luxury hotels and a destination that make a destination an attractive luxury destination to travel to. You don't get on the bucket list just because you have certain others. There is resort experience that you go to a destination just for a specific hotel. We saw Lanzahof, for example. They could probably be anywhere for the concept that they're offering. But in general, extremely important, as Caroline said, engaging with the customer is what we're trending towards, and that means also outside the hotel, engage with the destination and vice versa, and the local community. Caroline, on a different subject, and trying to put a little grain of salt into our discussion here, that luxury hospitality is booming. When we're looking at the announcements of the big hotel companies, some of the big hotel companies, they actually have said that they see the future over the next couple of years on their sort of investment pipeline in the mid-scale segment. Is that an indication that we're seeing a tipping point in that luxury segment?
I think it's also the hoteliers just trying to future-proof their business models so that they have like a presence, high-end and obviously in the mid-market. I think there's always going to be the luxury sector. I don't think we've reached that tipping point. And they are, obviously more resilient. Excuse me. So I think it's natural for brands to want to diversify.
Mm-hmm. Now, you outlined when we're looking at the consumer mindset again, and how the preferences and the behaviors are changing so drastically, which is asking the hotel companies to actually drive their transformation. And you outlined that the human touch continues to be highly relevant for the luxury consumer. Is there any sort of trending in there? How have you seen that develop over the past couple of years? Are we seeing an increase there?
Well, I would say that luxury has probably been slower to adapt, as Zoran was saying. So I would say that, you know, I think we are kind of at this tipping point in terms of digital transformation. And if you have younger consumers or younger sort of luxury seekers, they are digital natives. So if you're not present across the whole of the customer journey, you're going to miss out and they're going to go elsewhere. So it kind of seems like a no-brainer. Why not embrace the digital? But then have that sort of holistic view of the customer journey and know when to be present in that moment with your actual real person service. But equally, we know that they're much more autonomous than maybe previously. And so, yeah, it's kind of transforming, which is really exciting.
Yeah. And I think that is what we're seeing also is when a couple of years ago, digital development was something that scared particularly the luxury industry, because particularly luxury consumers are very conscious about their data. We're seeing a big shift in that happening currently. Now, moving away from a topic that everyone's discussing, we're also seeing that there's a lot of changes in the offering based on the requirements that consumers have. And Zoran, maybe looking at how those consumer mindsets and preference, how do they actually materialize in the product that we're offering, and how is a hotel developer or a hotel company responding to those? You know, particularly maybe the well-being part of it.
All right, so here I can go back to the company I had now, Lošinj Hotels and Villas, and we are a provider of, we have 2 luxury hotels, one you could say even ultra luxury, and 5 ultra luxury villas, so we really play in that segment. And in terms of the offering, I think we are in a way doubling down on our strengths. You know, we are doubling down on the points of distinctions where we can really say this is what we know how to do. You know, we are connected to nature. We are playing on that side of being the island that has been recognized 150 years ago as a climatological spa, health spa. You know, where the rich Viennese aristocracy of the 19th century was going to spend their winters and have their kids heal their pulmonary issues. So we have something that has been around for 150 years, and we are doubling down on that and finding ways how to communicate that better again to the world. So this plays in well into that wellness, well-being element. But really, what I think the hoteliers should be wary of trying to jump on every trend that comes around, because you know what trends are now around? All of them. That's the challenge, you know, and you can't be all things to everybody all the time. Like we've seen from those charts, you know, we have different demographic cohorts, we have different geographic cohorts, we have different psychographic. So it's very, very difficult to be everything to everybody. And I think this is where some of the established luxury brands are going to have a challenge finding their niches again, because, you know, they are all over the place and all over the world, and you know they have to have that that silver lining between their offering, and often they will have to adapt much more closer to the individual locations and understand it better, and find and not jump on every single activist trend that comes around. Yep. You know, even though we've seen that some of the consumers, some of the travelers are, you know, they want to see that the brands follow some of the latest activism, but you know, it's not for us. I think we are providers of experiences and transformation, and we should find those ways where we show what we are good at, and then build on that and really communicate that well.
And one of the things that we also see is that, you know, we talked about data-driven strategies in luxury hospitality. I think traditionally the hospitality industry has had a sort of post-experience research, then driving the changes for the next experiences. And not only our customers are extremely digital and data-driven, but the hotel companies need to be, and actually be in a position to act very quickly on profound data, And as Ron was saying, not jump on every trend, but really have data driving your decisions and making sure that you find the right focus. So having a data-driven strategy is extremely important these days. And I'll turn to Sebastian, just saying, when we're looking at these changes, how do you see them materialize? Has there been any services that have disappeared because of how, in the luxury hospitality, because of how customers are expecting services?
Welcome to Kempinski, founded in 1897. So we have changed a couple of services over the years. But let's look at my time. And my first ITB was in 1999, 25 years ago. So ITB changed a lot, and the same happened in the hotels. We talked about digitalization earlier, and there are so many processes. And I think luxury is to have the choice. At the end, you can order your club sandwich, use a phone, or use an app. And I see it as luxury to have at the end. It's your decision. I had a young lady checking in the other day, and she said, luxury for me is not using my phone. Yeah. So we talked about spa and wellness. I mean, to have the time, to have the privilege to enjoy instead of running from one appointment to the other. So yes, we have to adapt to the changes. We have to move on, but at the same time, we shouldn't forget what is luxury for our guests.
And is there any particular services that you would say you would have never seen happen in the luxury segment that you find amazing now in how your clients, how your guests are enjoying their stays?
A lot of different examples, but you cannot believe that this is happening, then it's happening, and then it is normal. Mm-hmm. Nothing special anymore to get a pre-arrival message and to get the question, what kind of pillow would you prefer tonight? Mm-hmm. And there are some guests that are changing it from every arrival, and it works. It doesn't make sense, but it's normal for the guests. They expect that. So, yeah, we move on.
Rodrigo, how did you incorporate those new mindsets and behaviors and requirements into your destination strategy?
Well, what we have in our case is that as a branding for the destination, first we identify pillars that have to be continuous no matter the changes in the trends and the needs. So, for example, we have identified several years ago when we started this process on the branding as three elements that are, first, the natural elements of the destination needs to be present in whatever we do. Sustainability needs to be a pillar of the destination. And thirdly, the cultural identity that we have. So if we communicate this to the different brands, and so on the example exactly that he was providing when the brands are coming to the destination, and we provide them with a branding statement of what we believe that the destination has and the way that the community needs to be incorporated. And because we have a long tradition of just being a tourism destination focused on a smaller scale, on the value that we can provide, then we continue to incorporate those elements into the experience of the travelers.
So I guess a lot to learn from a destination strategy, also taking all of those developments into considerations. Let's maybe for the last 10 minutes or 8.5 of our panel move into that sustainability discussion, where Caroline pointed out, particularly the luxury consumer is interested and he wants to take on responsibility, but he's not ready to act. He's basically passing the message on to the brands he's buying, the companies he's buying from. So we've seen that there is a less willingness to actively change your behaviors. Sebastian, is sustainable travel actually becoming a normality in the luxury segment? And are there certain things that you are preparing for in that sustainability context?
Definitely. It's part of every single meeting on hotel or brand level. It's one of the top priorities to work on that. And speaking again for Kempinski, 2021 we founded a committee for sustainability, including board members, to ensure this is our priority as a brand. And I see lots of opportunities for the hotels. For example, a vision could be in a couple of years, major brands are deciding to place their meetings on who is more sustainable, who is doing something. Yeah, hotels are EarthCheck certified, just to name one option. And EarthCheck implemented sustainable meetings, which really is a topic for the next years. So whoever is getting there first has an advantage for sure. And then you have a carbon footprint for your event. And I think big brands will require that.
Yeah, I think particularly in the corporate travel business, you see that anyhow, that companies have a CO footprint to report on, and they would only work with partners who have the respective data available at that point. And that I think shows that even though luxury often sort of conveys this message of excess and of you know, having everything at your hands, as the brands and the companies working in luxury travel are actually the ones that can pave the road for a more sustainable travel. And that brings me back to a discussion, Zoran, you and I had about mindful luxury, because you know, we tend to think that sustainability is a CO2 footprint. That's not what it's all about. But it's certainly also about a mindful traveler designing their own travel experience.
Yeah, I think we have so many definitional issues here. You know, what is luxury? What is sustainability? And I used to work back in the day for Aman Resorts, and about 2011-12, I moved to my own independent operations. And I started back then thinking deeply about all of these things and started playing with a lot of ideas and definitions, you know, how to make it organic, how to make it sustainable, how to make... And I've learned over the time that one thing is true: whatever we think today is sustainable, in 3 years it might turn to be not sustainable. So that's one thing. But then, so sustainability, we really need, especially from the perspective of hospitality, we need to understand for ourselves contextually where we are at, what makes sense in New York does not make sense on a Croatian island, and vice versa. And applying these broad stroke mantras that we all have to do this often does not work. So that's a definitional issue with sustainability. Tying back to the definitional issue of what luxury is, I fall back to this boring definition of luxury through economic terms, not through psychological lens. It's hard access, and once you access it, you have excess of something. So whatever we think today is luxury, one day will not be luxury, because they will move into commodity, and then there will be again a couple of % at the top at which we will be seeing, okay, this is the new luxury. Hard access will always have to stay there. It's a precondition for something to be luxury. However, what I have been thinking for years about is this element of excess. Perhaps this is where luxury becomes mindful. If we are mindful of those excesses, how do we reduce those excesses? Because still there will be travelers and guests and consumers that want to bathe in all of this. You know, maybe people still want to bathe in Dom Perignon. You know, it doesn't make sense, but you know, do we provide it if they ask for it? You know, it's a question for somebody who is also, you have also to be guided by profit to an extent. So, you know, this mindful element cannot be about access. Access has to be hard, but the excesses. And how those excesses affect the local community, how it affects the nature, how it affects the travelers. And then we look from the architectural side of things, from the development side of things. I'll give you just 10 more seconds about. Now we are talking a lot about the developments in the hospitality, in new developments, right? We have renovated all of our villas on the island of Lošinj that are 150 years old. Carbon footprint have been offset about 140 years ago on them. And you know what's the point? Those villas prove so sustainable. You know why? Because they are worth preserving. And I want that we build today things that are worth preserving, that the future generations will want to preserve. I think that's also one lens on sustainability that we often don't see. Build something that's worth preserving.
And that's probably one of the biggest challenges in communicating sustainability and luxury, is going from limitation to participation to sharing, and that's the mindful and the non-abundant. And defining a completely different approach to what is a sustainable luxury experience. And that brings me back to Rodrigo, just on communicating sustainability in a destination strategy. How are you actually including that in your communication for the destination?
Well, I would put two quick examples. One, there is a natural reserve in the destination that is called Cabo Pulmo. That is one of the best examples of regeneration because it is handled by the community. It is not by any private organization or the government. And we have been working with the community to develop a guide how to be a responsible tourist or more responsible tourist, that it was precisely provided and work in a town hall meeting with the community, and we are telling the travelers how and why they need to respect the destination and the natural element and the way that the community is involved in what it is, and this is focused on luxury travelers. So that's definitely one that we are extending now as all the travelers are coming, how to become more responsible. And the second, we have also worked on a sustainable event guide in the destination, and we understand it as sustainability, not as an end, but as a path, as a way that we need to work all together with the community and the travelers that are coming to provide the best experiences to all.
Thank you. Well, I'm seeing that we're getting to the end of our presentation. I don't know if there's any questions from the audience. I looked at the Slido, there's nothing on there, but maybe not everyone was aware that you were able to put questions in there. But we have like a minute for a pressing, urgent question that someone would like to ask to our panel.
Don't see a hand?
Okay. Well, I think, we probably could have talked another 2-3 hours on the different subjects of how luxury is actually, the luxury travel segment is changing. You've seen a lot of impulses from research, but you've also seen or heard sort of comments and explanations of how it's actually making its way into the actual product. I think my panel colleagues here are ready and available for any discussions you may want to have with them on a one-to-one. Other than that, thank you very much for listening, and thank you all for taking the time to be here and providing your wonderful insights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was a great start of this morning's session. So thank you very much, Caroline, Rodrigo, Sebastian, Soren, and of course, Kirsten, for your panel leadership. Thank you. Stay with us for a deep dive in this wellness and well-being sector, where we'll be back in 5 minutes. See you, and stay with us.